On the parliamentary news this evening, Nigeria's First Lady Aisha Buhari moves for Traditional Medicine Council bill to maximize herbs abundance in Nigeria.
There is wisdom to look into how to enhance research into this sector.
Supplementary elections over. Governing All Progressives Congress APC maintains lead in the Senate with 60 seats in the next dispensation. And correspondent has an overview on Nasarawa State Assembly that passes 237 bills.
We're hoping that this financial independence will be a moral booster for the institution to really act independently.
Good evening and welcome to the Parliament with me, Muhammad Rabiu Ali. And now the news in details. The First Lady Aisha Muhammad Buhari says it is long overdue that the country takes full advantage of both medicinal and economic values of its abundant herbs. This was in a message to the House of Representatives hearing on an establishment bill for Nigerian Traditional Medicine Council. National Assembly correspondent Abdullahi Aminu reports.
It was a legislators and stakeholders engagement for Nigeria to have an effective regulation of its traditional, complementary and alternative medicine.
The general population in the rural areas, who form the majority of Nigeria's population, can only afford, most of them can only afford this medicine that has been so bequeathed to our generations by our ancestors. And therefore there is wisdom to look into how to enhance research into this sector. There is also wisdom to find a way of attracting huge investment into this particular sector, as well as also to look at it from the perspective of a sector that is capable of generating huge employment.
We are so very happy for seeing this and are so happy to hear this in our nation.
Clause 60 of the bill that talks about the function of the council, and it talks about establishing a drug manufacturing unit. Our concern here is that we do not want an overlap, because a practice is different from when you control the manufacturing units. And so this is an area of concern for us, that we do not want an overlap to occur in future because of that clause in section 60. We also have some other clauses in clause 21, 24, and 38 that talks about the powers of the council. And in it, NAFDAC, we notice that NAFDAC is not represented. It's only represented at the point of being a member of the council and not of the board.
The lawmakers are optimistic that the bill has the expected capacity to improve on the Nigerian healthcare system.
Policy dialogues and discussions, ensuring an output that is acceptable to every stakeholders, that will be held to account by its actions and implementation for good healthcare delivery to Nigeria using the alternative and traditional approaches to the provision of medical services to the people. I am delighted that the bill under consideration is a bill that have direct bearing on the health of Nigerians and have the capacity to strengthen the healthcare system. As we gather here to participate in this public hearing, it is my utmost desire that the bill will be subjected to intellectual debate.
As we all know that globally, there is current desire and focus towards achieving universal health coverage by 2030. And to achieve that, there is need for a holistic approach in healthcare provision world over. And as such, the thinking that orthodox medicine is not the only practice in the world that people subject themselves to. There are other alternative measures. Some are even traditional that are being done to complement healthcare services. It will interest you to know that virtually, as a Nigerian, most of us, or even all of us, in one way or the other, will have come in contact with traditional practice, whether directly or indirectly. It means that this kind of service has been rendered should not be left unregulated, because more damages can be done to health care of individual. And of recent, you also notice people who claim to be what they are not. Some claim they are traditional practitioners, others claim they are complementary practitioners, others claim to be an alternative medicine practitioners. But currently, apart from few aspects of complementary medicine that are being guided, registered and regulated by a Medical and Dental Council, the whole of traditional medicine, if less, is left unregulated. As such desire for this public hearing.
The bill, key players agreed, if passed into law, will be a major paradigm shift to achieve a standard universal health coverage. From the National Assembly, Abdullahi Aminu, NTA News.
The election of senators into the 10th National Assembly has been completed with the declaration of results of the supplementary polls held on Saturday, April 15, 2023. You can recall that the National Assembly elections were conducted by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and held across the country on the 25th February 2023. The 10th Senate will be dominated by the ruling All Progressive Congress, APC, which has 60 seats, while the People's Democratic Party will lead the minority caucus with 35 seats. Labour Party has occupied 8 seats. The New Nigeria People's Party, NNPP, and the Social Democratic Party, SDP, have 2 seats each, while the All Progressive Grand Alliance, ABGA, and the Young People's Party have 1 seat each. This total number of seats in the incoming 10th Senate followed the release of the supplementary election results by the Independent National Electoral Commission. The coalition of society groups is demanding the ruling All Progressive Congress, APC, to consider the Southeast region for the position of Speaker of the House of Representatives in the 10th National Assembly. For the Southeast, for what it calls equity and fairness. The coalition also said due consideration to this call will stand out to be a symbol of unity and fairness by the APC. National Assembly correspondent Dayo Ogunshola has the report.
The leadership of the National Assembly continues to gather momentum, with different interest groups or personalities throwing their hats into the ring. For this coalition of civil society bodies, the All Progressives Congress is on the threshold of history as it takes decision on so key officers for the 10th National Assembly.
As members of civil society, we hold a view without equivocation that equity and fairness demand that the Southeast should produce the next Speaker of the House of Representatives. It is for this reason that we call on the APC as a majority party in the National Assembly to zone the office of Speaker of the House of Representatives to the Southeast, not just to reflect federal character and support a balanced power sharing formula in the country, but because the Southeast zone has the potential and capacity for the office.
As a country just coming out of a general election, the group is of the view that it is a legitimate demand that every decision taken by APC respects various interests in the country. In Abuja, Dayo Ogunshola, NTA News.
The 2027 general election is expected to be more favorable to women, youth, and people with disabilities if views expressed by key players at a dialogue on inclusive practices of political parties in Nigeria are implemented to the fullest by political parties in the country. The dialogue was organized by the National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies, the Westminster Foundation for Democracy, and the Inter-Party Advisory Council. John Yaku reports.
The dialogue is part of a research to bring out issues mitigating against inclusivity of people with disabilities, women and youth in elective and appointive positions in governance. Speakers agree that conceptualizing the problem of women, youths and people with disabilities in representative government is key in inclusivity.
Are there mechanisms in the political party system that accommodate them that we are not triggering?
Lead discussants recalled that after 100 years of party activities in Nigeria, political parties have not done enough for these vulnerable groups, hence the need for this dialogue.
Let's contest election into the party structures, because it is from there you have delegates and also your work, your value, your usefulness will be seen by party leaders.
It means that we cannot have a functional democracy that is excluding some part or some members of our society.
Political parties, rights activists, civil society organizations and people with disabilities voiced out some of their challenges.
We have political parties, each one have set guidelines, rules and regulations, standard operational procedures. Every day you have the headache of having people do what they have said they will do.
Financial disability, which is the economic disability.
For people with the wheelchair and a party office is on the third floor.
Like, what are those steps you are doing to make sure that these offices are active and persons with disability occupy this office?
We have to look at Africa, we have to look at our context. There are issues in Africa.
How can this be mitigated?
In the fees that are charged, in most cases women and the youth are given some consideration.
A lot of people in Nigeria who we call disabled are the people who win at the Olympics.
Disability itself is not only mental, it's not only biological.
The submission at the dialogue is for political parties to look inward to address this matter, as there is no functional democracy without inclusivity to all. In Abuja, John Yaku, NTA News.
Nasarawa State Assembly clicked 23 years of existence. How far so far? Some more news on the Parliamentary News.
NTA Parliament is a dedicated 24-hour channel that broadcasts activities of the Nigerian Senate, Federal House of Representatives, and all the 36 state houses of assembly. NTA Parliament, strengthening Nigeria's democracy.
The age reduction bill signed into law in 2018 by President Muhammadu Buhari has now become a shoulder upon which Nigerian youth have begun to run for elective positions. This was clearly seen in the just concluded 2023 general elections when a 27-year-old Prince Kasobe Abolarin managed to inject his political aspirations into the minds of the central Ibomina people despite his father's disapproval. Correspondent Joshua Ogunjide has visited Okeila, Oragun, the headquarters of Ifelodun constituency of Osun State, and now reports.
My life, and they trained me to acknowledge and be grateful for the privileges I have and to never look down on anybody.
Young and vibrant, 27-year-old Kashope Abolani won the March 18th State House of Assembly election for Ifedayo State constituency under the People's Democratic Party, making him the youngest elected lawmaker in the history of Osun State. What attracted the Obafemi Awolowo University trained medical doctor to politics?
Drawing from my experience as a member of the student representative body when I was a member of that in Obafemi Awolowo University for 2 sessions, a lot of people came and said I was too young to contest. But I would often retort by saying that if young people like myself don't contest, then we don't have the right to complain about leadership in Nigeria. I would say that what was the biggest challenge I faced, but it taught me a valuable lesson as a leader. You have to have thick skin against negativity. You must not allow scoffers and naysayers to get to you. So I thank them all for their part in building me up to the man that I am today.
A prince by birth and son of a renowned educationist and legal practitioner, Onagun of Okela, Oba Adetukun Abolari, Kashokwe scaled others before emerging victorious.
I don't want him to go into politics because immediately people identify him with a particular political party. People will now say that that is the party of KBC. Whereas that is not me. My palace is for everybody. People told me that he started the engineering process, the political engineering about 5 years ago without me knowing.
His emergence is indeed a testimony of his love for the people of Ifedayo and his popularity, especially among youths, as he convincingly swept the entire 10 wards of his constituency.
Then, during the COVID-19, he was in Okela throughout. He stayed in Okela. He provided some nose mask. From there, we've been observing him. Say, this guy is very talented. And as you can see, he loves this Okela.
Before he was elected, he has touched all this area from Ifedayo as a whole, including those villages.
He's the type of person that has a listening ear.
As regards the financial cost of campaigning, the truth is if you can sell yourself to the people, they can always come to your aid. I am a first-hand witness of that.
As INEC presented certificate of return to 26 House of Assembly members elect, the honors ahead for Kashokwe and other young Nigerians in the political space across the country is to live up to expectations by making people feel their impact positively and bringing needed development to the people.
The Kogi State House of Assembly has exonerated and reinstated 2 local government chairmen alleged to have been involved in terrorism and anti-party activities during the 2023 elections in the state. This resolution followed the investigations report by the House Ad Hoc Committee on the matter. Ajibola Christopher reports.
Presenting the interim report on the allegation in act of terrorism and electoral violence by some local government chairman of the Ad Hoc Committee, Alpha Momo Rabiu, recalled that on March 23, 2023, the House in session deliberated on security report emanated from the Department of DSS to the House of Assembly for legislation and consideration, said that the report borders on suspected involvement of some local government chairmen in acts of terrorism, electoral violence in the last general election. The chairman, Moses Olonuleke Kababunu, Joseph Salami Adavi, and Mustafa Akaba, Ajaokuta local government area, were invited for legislative hearing on the allegation. He said, after due consideration and findings in connection with the allegation, the chairmen of Ajaokuta and Adavi local government areas were in error of misinterpretation. In their recommendation, Chairman of the Ad Hoc Committee, Alpha Momo Rabiu, called on the House to set aside the earlier suspended chairman, Mustafa Akaba, chairman of Ajaokuta, and Joseph Salami, chairman of Adavi local government areas, reinstating them as chairmen of their respective local government areas and communicate same to the relevant authorities. He urged the House to grant legislative days to allow for further investigation over the allegation on the chairman of Kababunu local government area, David Olonuleke. Speaker of the House, Matthew Kolawole, who ruled on the matter, lifted the suspension on Ajaokuta and Adavi local government chairmen. He instructed the clerk of the House to forward a letter to appropriate authorities reinstating them on their position as chairmen of their various local government areas. Ajibola Christopher, NTA News.
The Nasarawa State House of Assembly has successfully passed a total of 237 bills and 445 resolutions as part of its legislative mandate within the 23 years of its existence from the 6th of June 1999. In this report, our correspondent Isa Mohammed takes a look at the journey so far and the impact of the state legislature on good governance.
The proclamation for the establishment of Nasarawa State House of Assembly came to being on the 6th of June 1999, 3 years after the creation of the state in 1996. This marks the beginning of legislative activities as an arm of government when the country returned to democracy. The State Assembly composition is made up of 24 elected members from 13 local government areas, with 2 members each from a local government except of 2 local governments that have 1 representative each. It has also produced 4 speakers and 5 clerks within the period. The hierarchy of leadership leveraged on rotational system of leadership across the 3 senatorial districts of the states for fairness, equity, and unity, which largely depend on composition of governor and deputy governor to allow for election of speaker, deputy speaker, and nomination of principal officers and committees. Like a typical legislature, the State Assembly also has its own fair share of smooth and rough experiences, characterized by different usual and unusual practices, where members are suspended for breaching house rules, snatching of mess, which is the symbol of authority, and impeachment saga against the governor, among others. Despite these ugly experiences, records show that in 2022, Nasarawa State House of Assembly has been rated second in the country and first in the north in the discharge of legislative duties. From the first to the present 6th Assembly, 237 executive and private bills have been passed, with 445 resolutions for the growth and development of the states in different spheres of life. Some of these bills include the modification of Child Rights Act, Public Procurement Law, Violence and Prohibition Law against Human Trafficking, upgrading and establishment of healthcare institutions, Nasarawa State Youth Empowerment Scheme Law, repealing of educational laws, local government laws, among other resolutions and oversight functions. It is also observed that legislative autonomy will give the State Assembly financial freedom and independence to manage their finances without the influence of the executive.
We're hoping that this financial independence will be a moral booster for the institution to really act independently and do the best so that the state will be better for it.
More interestingly, the people also hope that the composition of the 7th Assembly, yet to be inaugurated, will, among other things, provide fruitful deliberations, exchange of good ideas, and quality laws that will transform the states and add value to lives of the citizenry.
It must be given to them that they actually worked, and they worked for the number of bills that have been turned up. But the point is, it's about how it affects the people is the most important thing, and that's what they should look at in the next legislative assembly.
We expect to see vibrant legislations coming up. We expect to see the opposition political parties checking the excesses of the ruling political party, and by so doing, we'll be able to achieve the better essence of representation.
They don't sit down at home or in their room to come up with that bill. They're supposed to go back to their constituency, get information from their constituency, what they actually need, and from then they build on that. And when they build on that, and they can be able to come up with a very informed, very robust, and a very dependable fact to make it a policy agenda to the government.
The next assembly is expected to be inaugurated in June this year. In Lafia, I am Isa Muhammad, NTA News.
And that concludes the news. Thanks for watching. Good evening.